What's up, y'all? Hope you get the gist. You got Big Bro and you got Little Sis. The topic for today is
the Star Spangled Banner. Today we're going to discuss the Star Spangled Banner. We have these recent sporting events. There's been a lot of controversy surrounding how certain athletes or certain individuals no longer wish to bow when they hear the Star Spangled Banner. Now, I decided to do a little bit of studying about the Star Spangled Banner. And what I found out about the Star Spangled Banner and the author of the Star Spangled Banner, when you add those two things together, there's good cause not to want to sing the Star Spangled Banner.
Is that, oh, say, can you see?
Yes, that's the Star Spangled Banner. Okay, that's thanks.
Does Whitney Houston sang it, right? Whitney Houston sang it, right?
Yes, she did.
They say I look like her. Y'all think I look like Whitney a little bit? No.
Whitney Houston been dead for like
10 years almost.
So you would hope you don't look like
No.
her.
I went to the bank the other day and this lady said, I seen that face. And I said, she said, didn't everybody tell you? And I was like, yeah. She said, I resemble Whitney Houston.
She lied. Okay. At any rate,
she ain't lied.
She had good customer service skills.
No, she didn't. Who I look like?
Your mother. Whoever that might be, I'm sure.
Come on, Dad.
Right, at any rate. Okay, so we'll start with the Star Spangled Banner. Okay, the Star Spangled Banner was actually written in the year of 1814. It was written by a gentleman by the name of Francis Scott Key. Francis Scott Key was a lawyer. He was working for the colonists. Somewhere around 1812, the British actually, got into the United States, but they went into Washington. They burnt down the White House. They did all sorts of stuff. That was called the War of 1812. Now, somewhere around 1814, in what is called the War on Baltimore, the city of Baltimore, they kidnapped a very famous doctor. And this doctor that they kidnapped, they decided they wanted to ransom him. So in order to ransom him, they needed somebody to be a negotiator. So they had this ship that was on the dock right on the dock of Baltimore, right outside of Fort McHenry. So they picked this lawyer, Francis Scott Key. Now, Francis Scott Key is a devout slave owner. He's known for being an extremely racist type of individual. Now, at this time,
he was a lawyer and a slave owner, right?
Right. Now, during this time of the Revolutionary War, what they were doing was the British were actually offering, if you're a slave, if you come over to their side, if you run for freedom and join the British, what they'll do is they'll give you your freedom, and when they win the war, they're going to give you free land and your own freedom.
Reparations, right?
Now,
okay.
As we know, they didn't win the war, they lost the war. But in many instances, they did fulfill their promises. They sent a number of the people who were loyalists to Tobago, Trinidad, Nova Scotia, as well as Canada, and they gave them little crops of land. So that's why there are blacks in those areas right there.
Wow.
Now, a number of blacks decided not to be a part of that, and they were what's called loyalists. They were people that remained loyal to the United States. Now, one of the most famous loyalists was this guy that was right there when the Revolutionary War started, and he was telling how the British are no good, forget the British, nobody wants to be free. That would be Crispus Attucks, and he was pretty much the first person to die in the Revolutionary War. He was the first person to speak out, and he's talking about, well, here we go again, come on. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time, Crispus Attucks.
Move into the frame.
Okay, I'm in the frame. Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? Stop.
Move in the frame.
I'm in the frame. They see me. I know they see me. Come on. Please stop. You make me lose my train of thought when you start all this. Now, Francis Scott Key, this devout slave owner, though, but that's beside the point, because he was an effective lawyer and negotiator. So what they did, they sent him to this boat to free this doctor. Now, once he gets there, he wins the negotiation, and the doctor is set free. Now, but before they can go back to land, they're planning this sneak attack on Baltimore. So they have to stay on the ship overnight. Now, as they stay on this ship overnight, they bombard Fort McHenry, and that's when he writes this song with the rockets red gleaming and all this. Now, here's the thing. That's a big, long poem, and that's just the first part of it that you hear right there. Because the rest of that poem is dipped in nothing but racist propaganda, and it illustrates how much of a racist he was, and it goes back to what I was saying about how they offered free land to people who would be loyal to them and to certain free slaves. The second stanza of the Star Spangled Banner addresses, what he thinks of black people that would dare do such a thing and like that, how they could never be free, how they'll always be slaves no matter what you do.
So that's people's mind frame now. When they say America was great or America is great, you're trying to say they don't consider black people or African American people citizens. Is that what is that is
Okay.
that the premise?
We'll get to that in a moment. I'm glad you brought that up.
Thanks.
Now, moving right, which is really a good point.
It is, right?
So very good. Let me tell you. So now, Francis Scott Key writes this poem, and it gets published immediately. And it becomes, something they really like, and it goes all across the place and everything, and becomes really popular. Now, because of his standing in the community, Francis Scott Key has no chance of ever seeing this creation of his become the song that became the Star Spangled Banner, primarily because he was such an avowed racist that it took 120 years before the memory of him dissipated, before they even could consider making the song the Star Spangled Banner. Naturally, they had to add music and signs to it. That's really nice.
Just touch my chest.
They had to really sign music and signs to it. But nevertheless, that's your Star Spangled Banner. Now,
Got 2 minutes left.
he was such a racist that
If you don't know he's a racist, don't put that out there unless you have concrete facts. Because some people gonna come after you. They're gonna come after you if you don't know this.
I know this for a fact. Now,
Come on now.
he was also the 11th cousin of our third president,
Who was the third president?
Thomas Jefferson. Can you believe that? He was Thomas Jefferson's cousin. Now,
You know how he feels about Thomas Jefferson, right?
now his sister was married to this judge. Okay, now this judge, Francis Scott Key recommended him to his cousin Thomas Jefferson, who had married his sister, to be on the Supreme Court. And this judge ended up being on the Supreme Court. And he ended up being the Chief Justice on the Supreme Court. And he was the very Chief Justice during the Dred Scott decision that said Negroes can never be citizens. They can never be American.
Who said this again?
Exactly.
What's the person's name? What's the person's name that said this? Because we have to do some heavy research, people. Because you can't throw fake news out, right? So, the person's name...
He was the 5th Justice of the Supreme Court. His name was Robert Taney.
Spell it.
Taney.
So look, Taney or Taney. Let's look up Robert
Taney.
Taney
He
and
went-
see what he said about blacks, browns, African Americans, whatever you call him.
He
Let's
re-
look that up.
He rendered the Dred Scott decision. African citizens, free or enslaved, were not citizens, nor can they ever be citizens, nor will they ever have rights. So basically what he said is that no black, free or not, can ever go to court to charge a white person for anything. You have no rights as a citizen. You can't sue, you can't do anything.
Well, what are we then, Mr. Taney?
Okay. You're talking to a dead man when you ask that question.
Mr. Taney's
now,
people.
that being-
Somebody tell me, what are black people then? Really,
Now,
seriously.
That being said, in 1931, Hoover, who was the president at that time, decided that he wanted the Star Spangled Banner to be the national anthem. So by national order, he had that done. Now, so when people say that they're offended or it's racist or whatever, it does have some undertones of racism, but what they try to do is chop out all that's racist about it and just stay with the top part with the "Oh say can you see," because prior to that, the real national anthem was that "My country 'tis a whatever it is,"
My cousin, 'tis the sweet land of liberty.
something like that.
Do you remember that?
And actually, where Francis Scott Key was concerned, he was berated for the rest of his life, just about made fun of because of his little comments like "land of the free, home of the brave." He was taunted. So not a good guy, Francis Scott Key. Can see why people are offended by the Star Spangled Banner, but nevertheless, it is what we've decided to represent our country. Again, something we might want to take a second look at if it's going to be something that's going to describe all of us, going to be inclusive to allow us to be who we really are as a nation, not who we project ourselves to be.
So the moral of
the
this day is let's check into, go ahead,
the Star Spangled Banner's history. Find out what it's about. Not standing to it or not holding your hand to it or not saluting it. It's a personal choice. It does not mean that you're not patriotic. It simply means that you made a choice not to choose it, not to choose that way, not to work, not to honor it that way.
Okay.
Now, typically, that does not mean that you're against the services.
Right.
You're not against your heroes, your first responders.
Because we love the vets. Our father fought in World War II. Our brother fought in Vietnam.
Our uncle fought in Korea.
Our uncle fought in Korea. And sometimes people get misconceptions that black people do not support our troops, and that is far from the truth.
Absolutely. We have fought in every major war that this country has ever been in.
And we love our country.
From the Civil War.
We love our country too. But we just,
to the Afghanistan War.
Would like sometime for the truth to be told. And don't hate when you hear the truth. That's all. That's what our voice is. Don't hate the truth. Acknowledge it and accept it.
And let's move forward.
Let's move forward, but let's learn the truth.
Peace.
Bye-bye. Hey, comment, like, and share. We love you.